Hi! So today you're going to get a little bit of a lower view of my shelves, and that is because I have a very good excuse for not filming last week. I don't know if you guys had noticed, but I've been doing a really good job of getting up at least one, if not two videos every week for a while there. Probably nobody really noticed when I didn't put up anything last week, but I noticed, and my excuse is sitting in my lap here. I'm sure you can see he is zonked out. I have a kitten! Yay! Most of you already have seen my cats because I try and slip them into most of the episodes. Pi and Mulan I've had for quite a while now. I've talked about it in the past. Pi and Mulan are both rescue kitties. Pi, back in 2013, I had moved to LA right after college and it did not work out for me. I hated it. It was really brutal, and so I've been planning to move back in April, and my family just fosters kittens. We've always fostered kittens. We've been fostering kittens since probably all of us were old enough to help out with that. My mom's always been rescuing animals her entire life. I've never really known anything but fostering kittens. But anyway, so I was in LA and my mom got some kittens in right before I was about to move back. This litter of kittens had been, I believe there were 5 originally. They'd been picked up by someone barely a week old, maybe not even a week old when they were first picked up. The people, like a lot of well-meaning people, didn't really look around to find mother, just saw kittens, assumed they were abandoned, which is the wrong thing to do if you ever see kittens. Unless you see the body of the mother dead, she is coming back for them, and you need to leave them until they're old enough to be eating on their own. As long as they're not eating on their own, their chances of survival without the mother is very, very low. But then these people did something that is even worse, because they really didn't know what they were doing. They took these tiny kittens in and gave them just milk out of their fridge, like cow milk, which, between that and between not having the immune support from having the mother's milk, the milk just basically sandpapered their intestines. Those people picked them up, couldn't handle it, gave them to someone who worked with a rescue group. She eventually called the person who we were fostering kittens for. That person brought those kittens, and I think by then at least one of them had died, brought them to another person. That person couldn't handle it. They were down to 2 kittens. I mean, barely making it. They brought them to my mom. I never met Pi's sister. I believe she was a little white kitten. She died almost just hours after they got to my mom. But Pi made it. He was the sole survivor, and it was really touch and go. I mean, horrific diarrhea. When I got home, I would just sit with him, kind of like we're sitting now, but Pi was much, much smaller. He needed to be bottle fed, he needed to be close to somebody, and I would just sit with him while I was back at home and clean up after him. I'd have to have a towel in my lap because it was pretty bad for a while, but I basically completely raised Pi. And when he got old enough to be adopted, because he did survive, he did make it, he got healthier eventually, thank goodness, I decided to keep him. He was named Pi because The Life of Pi came out around that time, and he was the sole survivor in the movie. So my mom named Pi Pi. So I didn't even name Pi. That's his story. And he's moved around quite a bit. That was back in Arizona. I went to kind of start again a few months after that and live with my cousin in Colorado. Eventually, my parents brought Pi up to live with me there. So we got to hang out up in the mountains in Colorado, and that was really fun, and he got all his vaccines there, got his microchip there, and all of that. He eventually went to live with my parents when they moved back to Colorado, which is where I was originally born. Pi started living with them because he'd always lived with all the other cats that they had. After about a year living up in Colorado, I decided to move to Washington because some of my friends were moving to Washington, which is where I went to college. I went to college at Eastern Washington University, and my friends were moving to the Seattle side, so I decided to move and live with them. I lived here for about a year, and during that year, my mom got another group of kittens in, and those ones all had Disney names. It gets really hard to name all of the kittens after a while. You have enough litters of kittens and you always want the name to be unique. So for that particular litter, she wanted Disney names. And so who did they have? The 2 I remember are Mulan, of course, because she ended up here, and her sister was Belle. So all the other kittens in that litter, the Disney kittens, got adopted. I believe Mulan got adopted with Belle, and they were perfectly healthy, happy, cute little kittens. They got adopted, and then the person didn't want them anymore and sent them back. They weren't there terribly long, but who knows what happened. But very shortly after they returned, Belle just crashed, went downhill all of a sudden and died. So Mulan was the only kitten in her litter living with my parents for a while. And during that time, while Pi was there, he sort of just decided she was his best friend. They look alike, maybe that's why he thought that, and they were both younger. I mean, he was a year when she was born, so he was still young, still playful and kitten. Like, he adopted her, basically, and I was just about at the point where I was ready for him to come live with me full-time, and I didn't want him to come up and live alone after he'd lived with a whole bunch of other cats, so I just said, I'll take her, and I'll just have 2 cats. So I just adopted Mulan out of the blue, having just barely ever met her. I know I'd seen her on Skype a lot, and I got sent pictures because she was just a little wild thing. She was, Mulan is the most fitting name for her. She was the adventurer, she was the brave one, she was the little warrior among all of her siblings. Pi chose Mulan, and Mulan came to live with us, and my husband, who was then my boyfriend, they were going to stay with him in his condo because one of my roommates who I was still living with couldn't have cats. She was allergic. Oh man. Okay. Whoa, where were we? My memory card died, so I had to go and get a new one. And now he's awake, so he'll be actually playing. But as I was saying, Pi and Mulan came to live with me. I would not have ended up marrying Josh if he didn't love cats. Loving cats to me was a big requirement. Loving cats, obviously, isn't the fostered cats my whole life. It was really important to me. Come here, if you're gonna be cute, you gotta be in the camera. There we go. And Mulan won him over in like 5 seconds. She first day she was here, she just stretched herself up his leg and went, Nyah! And it was like, from then on, he was her person. And just, yeah, the 2 of them love each other the best, and Pi loves me the best, and I love him the best because he's my baby, so we each had our own 1 cat. So anyway, so that's their story, and recently Josh and I had been talking about getting another dog, but every time I was looking at rescue shelters and places, the dogs on the websites, I always end up looking at the cats, and all the cats were perfect. I wanted the cats so bad, and so I had been genuinely thinking about getting a 3rd cat, especially since Josh is in New Jersey. I thought, I can have as many cats as I want. I want 100 cats. He can't stop me. I work at a veterinary clinic. One of the days last week, very end of the day, a guy came in with a kitten, and he said something had fallen on its head, and it was bleeding from the nose, which is a sign of a brain injury. And the kitten was still moving around, but it was kind of iffy, and the guy asked if it needed to be put down, be euthanized, and was kind of pushing towards that. He was really worried that it might be brain damage, and so luckily the doctor put his foot down and was like, you know what, I'm going to try and treat it with some medicine, and if it lives through the night, then I'll call you in the morning, and if it doesn't, then, you know, and if it is really, really bad and it's not going to recover, then if it needs to be put to sleep, then I'll do that and I won't charge you for it. I'll just charge you for the medicine. And the guy was kind of iffy about it and then reluctant, but he paid for that because it was cheaper than euthanasia to just do the medicine. Didn't really want to give us his information. I took down the very little amount of information that the guy would give us. I texted my husband. I was like, this is the situation with this cat, and I think whether or not it survives, this guy is not going to pick it up tomorrow, and if he doesn't, I'm going to take it home. And he was like, okay, he knows me, obviously that's why we got married, and he was like, okay, if the kitten needs a home and it doesn't have a home, we'll be its home, it's fine. So the next day, Kitten was great. Kitten was up eating, a little bit wobbly, but no more bleeding and doing fine. So we called the guy, and he was glad it was okay, but really concerned that it might have to take medicine for the rest of its life, that it might have a brain injury, and it was just there's no way to know. It's a tiny kitten, it could fully recover, or it could have some brain damage. Like, there's no way to know at this point, and you need to make a decision about whether or not you're picking up the cat before we close today. And I told him that early in the morning. Sometime later in the afternoon he called, and his decision was basically, in a nutshell, that he either financially or just emotionally could not handle taking the kitten back. I don't know if it was his kitten to begin with. I don't know if he found it or not. Like I said, it was kind of sparse information that we got from him. I don't know too much. He knew the kitten's date of birth. He said it was July 13th, although this kitten seems younger than that by about a week, just developmentally, but some of that could be from the brain injury. I took him home, set him up in my bathroom with all of the stuff he needed, and kind of spent time force feeding him. I had my days off, luckily, right after that, so I had 2 days that I could just be home with him. Spent a lot of that force feeding him, kind of making sure he could go to the bathroom. It took him a while to go to the bathroom, and he also, for the first maybe 5 days or so, he would get stuck going in circles, and he would just kind of circle around, and he was very unsteady, even for the age that he was. And kind of, you know, it was one of those where, like, he really might have brain damage, but it'll be okay. He came back in to work with me a couple days later. Doctor checked him out. He looks great. His eyes are, you shine the light and the eyes are supposed to dilate. If they both do the same, they're supposed to do the same thing when you shine a light into them. If one of them does a different thing or doesn't react, then you have a problem, but they did the same thing. Everything about him looked healthy. He was still doing a little bit of circles at the time, but he said that'll go away, it'll be fine. And it has! He, as of about yesterday, I'm filming this, when am I filming this? I'm filming this on Wednesday. I know I'm not going to put it up until at least Saturday, but he's great. He's acting like a completely normal kitten. Right now he's crashed, which makes it a lot easier. I say crashed. He's just fallen asleep. He was running around like a maniac all morning, so he is a baby and he needs his rest. Yeah, so now we have a kitten in the house because I didn't want him to go, you know, to a shelter or anything like that. I wanted him to be sure he's going to a good home. He matches, he's a tabby, although he has little white feet. I know you're sleeping, but I want to show you to the camera. We're gonna come closer. Here he is. Oh, he's super cute. He's so sleepy. He's been sleeping for the past 3 hours though. It's time to get up. Yeah, got little white paws, except for one toe. Little white belly. It looks like he's gonna be medium to long hair, whereas my other cats are short hair kitties. And we named him Zuko, after Zuko from Avatar. It just didn't fit his personality. I felt like the name went really well with Mulan and Pai to begin with. Oh, you're super tired, aren't you the cutest? Mwah. The other cats are kind of jealous at first. They're starting to warm up to him. There's a little bit of hissing, but they haven't really had a baby in the house, and he's pretty little and he's pretty tottery still. He runs around like a crazy guy, like doop 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 doop. We're getting used to him. I think Pai is jealous that he's not the only baby right now. They're older though. They're 5 and 4, and he is 5 to 7 weeks, depending upon how accurate that guy's birth date that he gave for him actually was. Seems like he's gonna be completely fine. He's gonna be part of the family. Pretty young still. This is younger than you'd normally adopt a kitten, but I don't have a problem with that because I've raised kittens before. I thought he might be young enough that he needed to bottle feed, but he wasn't. He knew how to eat all his food on his own. We're working on dry food. He doesn't know how to do crunchies, but he's eating really good. He is getting some kitten milk. I use the KMR formula because that's what we've always used and trusted when we had to bottle feed kittens. So we got some of that. He's probably not going to need that for much longer, but at least until he starts eating crunchies and drinking water regularly. He's getting milk and he's getting some wet food, all kitten stuff, and he's just a happy, healthy little guy. But obviously that's why I didn't film. I was getting up in the middle of the night with him because he's a baby, and making sure he was eating, especially when it was kind of touch and go still. And he's had to have a couple baths already because he's a messy little guy, but he does know how to clean himself. He's working on it. So you probably see him in future videos. I know Pie and Mulan are not so big on being in videos, but maybe he'll be a little bit less camera shy. We'll see. I'm so glad he's been so sleepy so you could see him the whole video. I thought he was going to be running around because he has been asleep for 3 hours, but it's probably time to wake him up and see if he's hungry a little bit. Welcome, Zuko. I know I talked about the other cats a lot. It's just really important to me to mention kind of what goes on with rescue cats, especially with rescue kittens. It's a big deal when you find stray cats. Like, it's not a small thing. We specialized in raising bottle babies because like my mom could do the morning shift and I could do the night shift, and neither of us had to lose too much sleep over them. But it's like babies, it's every 2 hours when they're tiny, and you move up to every 4 hours, slightly longer. They really have to have food out all the time, even when they can eat. Like, there's a lot of developmental stages that kittens need their mothers for, and they need her for helping them to develop an immune system. The milk helps with that. And if they're not getting it directly from the mother, then they're susceptible to a lot of other things. There's just all kinds of things that an older cat can handle that a kitten can't. With a lot of the cats that we would raise, it was really people just not knowing what to do, finding kittens somewhere and just immediately grabbing them up. And that is wrong. Even if they're able to walk, that's still a little too young. What they should be able to do, kind of the youngest stage that you want to take kittens away from their mother. And I know that there's like this instinct, you want to take them away so that they won't be feral, so they can go to a shelter and be adopted and not have to live on the streets, which is an incredibly hard life for a cat. But you want to wait until they're old enough that when they play, they kind of rear up and like do one of these, like up on their hind legs. That would be the youngest you should take them. But really, kittens should be 8 weeks before they leave their mothers. They should be older than this little guy. He should still be with his mother right now, which is why I'm kind of spending all my time with him, so that he's with somebody at least, and he's still having kitten milk because he still needs the nutrients from kitten milk. The very best thing you can do with kittens that are too young is to leave them, watch them. If you never see the mother, it could just be that she's hiding from you. If they still seem like they're healthy, they're not getting too skinny, they're not kind of wandering off, then they're probably okay. The only time you should really pick up kittens is if you find the mother dead. Or if you're going to take kittens, trap them with the mother. And if you need help doing that, there are all kinds of shelters that can either walk you through it or help you directly. Kittens need their mother, and as much as I've loved being a kitten foster for most of my life, it'd be better if I didn't have to, you know? It would always be better if all cats everywhere were being taken care of. So I just wanted to say that. I know this has been kind of a long, rambly video, but there's been a kitten in it, so it hasn't been so bad for you guys. Anyway, I think my camera battery is gonna die. I'm gonna try and wake him up a little bit because otherwise he's not gonna sleep tonight, and I'm trying to let him sleep through the night so I can sleep through the night. And it's time for some dinner probably, so bye! Say bye-bye!